We're carrying all those hats of content writer, content creator. We're posting it, we're scheduling it, we're, recording the podcast, we're writing the blog posts, like literally doing everything inside of our business. And if we're doing all of those little micro tasks, then we can't really move it forward with that vision. All right, so this episode is going to be so awesome and so good. We're going to talk about the 5 must-haves that you have to have in your business. And the reason it's going to be so good, and I know it's going to be so good, is because this is like the 4th time I've tried recording it. It has been one of those days where just nothing goes according to plan, right? Like I woke up this morning and felt super groggy. I felt like maybe I woke up at the wrong stage of my sleep cycle. So one of the things I teach inside your Cycle Advantage is looking at your daily rhythms too, not just your monthly rhythms, but looking at those daily ones. And sleep is a huge part of that. So if you wake up at a low point in your sleep cycle, like when you're in one of those deeper sleep stages, you're going to wake up feeling much more groggy and feeling like you are having a harder time waking up. You don't feel well rested, like all of those types of things. And so I was thinking that that's where I was. And like what just happened was like I hit snooze. I don't normally hit snooze, or I try not to. And so I fell back asleep, woke up probably mid-cycle. And then when I woke up, I recently bought this Aura ring off of OfferUp. I'm trying to test it out and see if I really like it. I will probably share more about what I'm learning and what I'm tracking and how I really like it. The reason I got it was really to look at that, like look at my sleep. I felt like the sleep tracker app that I was using is using based off sound. And so with kids and cats running around the house in the middle of the night and all those types of things, I didn't really feel like it was giving me a very accurate reading. And I really wanted to start tracking my basal body temperature, but I didn't want to like actually have to take my temperature every single morning. And so using the ring, it'll do it automatically for you. And so those were the 2 big things in me trying to test out the ring. So if you don't know what basal body temperature is like the temperature that your body is when it's at complete rest overnight. So like before you even get up out of bed, you take your temperature in the bed as soon as you wake up. And as long as you've had like a good stretch of sleep and you don't have any other like confounding factors, like, you were drinking the night before, or you were up late, or like you're sick, those kinds of things, like which all might adjust and change your temperature. If that basal body temperature, what it does is it'll tell you kind of in your cycle, whether or not you're ovulating or kind of how you're transitioning through all 4 phases of your cycle. So it can be a really valuable tool to give you more self-awareness and know a little bit more about what's going on in your body. So if you're trying to get pregnant, this is a really valuable tool because it's going to tell you exactly when you're ovulating. If you're not trying to get pregnant, it can also be a really valuable tool to let you know, like, gosh, this is what's actually happening in your body. Like maybe you're not even ovulating, and that's a huge red flag that you want to be aware of, or, all of these things. So like the more you just know about your body, the better. So that's why I got the watch or the ring and why I've been testing it out. But this morning when I woke up, I got an alert from the ring from my phone from the ring that said like poor recovery. So essentially it takes into account your heart rate, your sleep patterns, like everything over the night, and said that I did not recover well overnight due to potential factors. Like it said, like working out late or things like that can make your heart rate not adjust and get into that rest. And it was like, gosh, that is what I feel this morning. I feel like I did not recover from sleep last night, and I'm feeling super groggy, feeling really low, and feeling like I'm dragging. So that's kind of how I started. And then I was like, I need to record this episode because somehow it got missed. I batched a bunch of episodes in April, and then with the guests, and then my solo ones, I've been kind of like trickling in and recording over the summer and like over time. But I knew that I wanted to really be fully present with my family over the summer. I knew things were going to be crazy, and I didn't want to have to worry about like podcasting over the summer. So I batched a bunch, and then the solo ones I've just been like squeezing in. And somehow when I looked at my calendar and like kind of looking at the next couple episodes that are going to come out in the next couple of weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, I have not recorded this episode. And it's supposed to air in like 5 or 6 days. So here I am recording this episode. I knew I needed to get it done. Wasn't feeling super great, but I was like, I'm going to do it. We're going to make it happen. And this is like an inspired episode. I literally last night was like going for a walk around the block. Like, I don't know what I want to talk about. And even up until like an hour before recording, I was like, I still don't know what I want to talk about. And then it was like, boom, lightning. Like, this is what to talk about today. But as soon as I started talking and like recording, I got like 40 minutes in and then noticed my like recording software was gone and I couldn't figure out what happened. And it said low disk space on my computer. If you are a content creator, you know what I'm talking about when your computer fills up and there's just too much on your computer. So it essentially totally trashed the file. Cannot find it because it says my computer was out of room and it like couldn't keep recording and store it. So I tried it on Zoom and somehow in there, my Zoom was not recording my audio, which crossed my fingers, like hopefully it's recording right now. And I only had a small little chunk of time to go to the dentist. I know this is a really long intro, but trust me, we're going to get into some really good stuff. So I had to go to the dentist. I was like, oh, I'm going to record. And then I started recording and got like 20 minutes in. I was like, I got to go. I can't record this whole episode. So I stopped it. And then I'm driving to the dentist and I started thinking, I'm like, gosh, you know what? The dentist is usually really good about sending appointment reminders. You usually get one that's like, oh, your appointment's tomorrow, like confirm your appointment. It's like, I haven't gotten one of those. And so I looked at my phone. It was still on my calendar. I looked at my text messages, like no reminders. So I called the dentist and I was like, hey, I'm on my way. I'm supposed to be there in 20 minutes. Do I have an appointment right now? And she's like, no, you don't. Your appointment's not till the end of the month. And I was like, oh my gosh. So here we are back again. One of those days, right? Tell me, like, please tell me I am not alone in this. So as I sit here getting ready to record this episode, I will probably be drinking some coffee as we go because I need that little bit of a pick me up today. Although I feel like right this moment, I'm talking incredibly fast, but that might be because I'm just like, blah, 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 let's get this going. Let's get this going. I'm super excited about this. So the 5 essentials that you need to have in your business in order for it to really grow and scale. Okay. Not talking about entirely just like getting your business up off the ground. If you're in that space of like getting your business up off the ground, there may be some other things that you want to add into this. Not to say these things are not essentials for you at that phase. This is really going to be super helpful for somebody that's already in business that wants to help see it grow and scale. Okay. You're already plugging away. You're already getting things going. You're already seeing things moving, but you want to see it have that bigger impact. You want to see it grow bigger. Okay. So number 1 is your vision, really, truly, because a lot of times what happens is people are adapting and adopting other people's visions, other people's ideas, other people's strategies, right? You can go online and build a business in a million different ways. It's doing a million different things. Right? You could be an Etsy shop owner selling templates and even just like printables, things that aren't even really like tangible that you're making in the sense of like, making a stuffed animal or something like that, that they're more digital based products, but you're selling them in a like repetitive way. Like you are not, once you've created it once, it's done and for you. And all you are is selling it over and over and over again. Versus you might have somebody that's over here, maybe you're coaching and you're creating a community, a membership or a course or something of that nature. Or maybe you're selling things on Amazon, doing like drop shipping and things like that. Like truly there's a million different ways. And even recently I got into that whole world of like seeing how people were making tons of money doing like drop shipping on Amazon. I'm like, how is this? Like, what are people doing? But that does not mean that every which one of these things is going to be right for each and every single person, right? You might build a business very differently than me. And a big part of it is getting authentic and in alignment with what's true and good for you and your vision. What do you want to create? Right? Looking at that end game, looking at the leadership habit from Stephen Covey, I think it's number 2, begin with the end in mind, right? You want to know what that end game looks like, where you're headed and what you want to create and how you're going to get there. Sometimes this looks like literally sitting down and just kind of mapping out how many hours do you want to work? And in fact, I want you, like, as we go through this, to kind of have that check-in and self-awareness with yourself. Just like I said at the beginning, like me tracking my ring and knowing like that self-awareness of my body is huge. It allows me to be able to better optimize my time, better optimize my body, and operate in my fullest when I know more about what's happening in my body. The same for you when you look at your business, you're going to be able to operate better and in more of your like zone of genius and where your optimization if you have the self-awareness and reflection of where you're at in each one of these different areas. So as we go, I want you to think about like when I talk about the 5 different stages or 5 different things, I want you to have that check-in moment and self-awareness, not just listen to this episode on autopilot, but you pause and ask yourself, where do I stand in each one of these different areas? Okay. So right now, grab a piece of paper if you're not driving and answer these questions, even if you have to pause the episode and ask yourself, like, where do I see myself 10, 15 years from now, 5 years from now, a year from now? How many hours a week do you want to be working? Where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself spending your day? What does that look like? Because the more that you can tangibly get specific about the vision that you want to create, the more that you're going to be able to actually align with that and lean into that. This is a huge one for me that I have struggled and wrestled with for a very long time. In fact, I got really frustrated with my coach and mentor because inside his program, his coaches and him, like they don't give you specific answers. If you go in there with a very like, you think it's a black and white question, they will give you a very gray answer because they don't know what's going to be right for me. Just the same as like what's right for me might not be right for you. And so the goal in the way they coach inside his program is like to pull that answer out of you and find what's going to be true and right for you. The same for me is like I, for a long time, was building a business in a niche in an area that does really well. Like people see success, people are growing, and people have really great businesses doing that. But for some reason, my business was not growing in the way that I wanted it to. And when I would see other people and not comparing, but like literally in the same groups that I was in, see their back end, see their numbers and see the growth that they were seeing and me not seeing that growth and feeling so stagnant was when I realized like this is not in alignment with where I'm supposed to be. This is not who I'm supposed to be serving. This is not the niche that I'm supposed to be in. This doesn't feel true and right for me. And when I made that pivot and switched is when I started to see massive growth in my business. So if maybe that's where you're at right now is like you've been grinding and putting in the work and doing it and driven and just like sitting there wondering like, why is this not working? Why is this not seeing the results that I want? I would question, one, are you building it in a way that feels good for you? It feels sustainable, right? Like there's challenge launches, webinars, launches, live events, automated funnels, like there's a million different ways to build a business. So is the way that you're building it sustainable and feel good for you and align with that vision that you want to create? And then number 2 is who you're serving and what you're offering feel good to you. Does that feel in alignment with you? Because if there is something incongruent with that, it's not going to work. If what you're offering and what you're doing and how you're building it and doing all that doesn't match up with the lifestyle you want to create, it's not going to work. You're going to feel misaligned and the vision's not going to be there. Okay. So have a real check-in point with yourself right now and say, is this working? Is this where I want to be? Is this the vision, the dream that I want to create? And then what I want you to do is like journal out what is that vision and what is that dream for you, not anybody else, right? Like I have a good friend of mine who's building an amazing membership. I built a membership and it was exhausting for me because I operate more in that rhythm of wanting seasons of like total disengagement and then seasons of going hard. And a membership is constant. It's all the time. So for me, the membership didn't allow me that rhythm that I really love. So for you, maybe the membership works. For me, it did not. So now I'm getting the opportunity to build my business in a way that operates within that rhythm, that gives me that element of having seasons of being able to show up and go hard and help my clients get results. And then seasons for me to retract and refresh and rejuvenate, seasons of me to like go hard with marketing and allow that rhythm. So what is that vision that you have for you? What would you like to create? How do you see yourself waking up every day? Where do you see yourself spending your time? What things do you want to invest in terms of like, do you love content creation? Do you love creating? Do you love writing? Do you love like what parts of you, things that you do in your business, they light you up? Because that's where you want to hone in on. Then number 2 is creating systems. Now, this is the one that's going to really help you in that sense of scaling. If you are just starting out in your business, like 100% start looking at like where your systems are and like where you can automate and really integrate. But sometimes it takes a little bit of like trial and error in the beginning. And so give yourself that time to like not focus maybe so much on like just creating a system, but figuring out like what is that thing that's going to work for me, right? Like if you spend all your time creating a system, a process, but then that thing you ditch later down the road, then that's not going to be helpful for you. But so kind of give like a little bit of trial and error and say like, these are the things that I want to create systems for. Then when you're in that place of like, okay, I've got the flow and I'm just spending so much of my time doing these tasks that are not aligned with my zone of genius, they're clogging up my space, they're clogging up my time. That's when we step into this place of creating systems, creating rhythms, creating routines. They're going to help get you your time back and put things on autopilot. So for me, one of the biggest tools that I use in my business is called ClickUp. ClickUp is awesome. I don't even think like I know for a fact, like I have no comprehension of all of the things that ClickUp can do. ClickUp is like a world and like vortex. And every time I start like start digging in, or I use like some of the templates that are in there and they come with like all these like random things, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what ClickUp is capable of. But I use ClickUp 100% every single day in my business. It's a great task management system. It's a great tool to be able to set deadlines and communicate with your team. So if you're trying to delegate tasks and things to your team and you want to stay up on tabs on like where things are at and how things are moving, it's awesome for that. And then even recently, this in terms of like automation is that I realized before I was always using Google Forms as a way to have guest applications, right? So like somebody that wants to come on the podcast, they fill out a guest podcast application and then it submits an email, and then the email goes to my assistant, Camille, and then Camille takes it and then can then move it forward from there, right? But somewhere recently in a Facebook group, I think I saw was that ClickUp has forms and that you can have the form completed directly. So like I can send that to a guest that wants to apply to be on the podcast. I send that to them and then it automatically puts it into ClickUp and starts it in this workflow already so that Camille doesn't have to go through and manually do that. Now you'd think like, okay, well, that's not my time anyway. It's Camille. But what that's going to do is going to take a task that is just an autopilot sort of task off of Camille's plate, automatized, so that then she can focus on the tasks that require her attention. So the same for you, like looking at your business, like where are those things that are taking up time that could potentially be automated? So what I want you to do is like, you journaled on vision number 1 or on like number 1. Number 2, what I want you to do is take your piece of paper and I want you to write a list of all of the things that you're doing in your business, everything. Okay. And I want you to write them all down. And then I want you to go through and highlight the things that are must do's, those things that only you can do. Right. So maybe it's like content creation. I've tried multiple times to delegate out like my blog posts or some social media content writing or things like that. And I'm not there. I can't get it to the place where people are writing like me or how I want it to write or things like that. And so content writing specifically is one of those things I need to do. It's not something that I can delegate right now. So for me, content writing is one of my areas that only I can fulfill in my business. I can't delegate that. So I would highlight it and say, these are ones only I can do that require my attention. Then I want you to go through and like circle the ones that you feel like, gosh, I maybe could automate this, or I could maybe delegate this. I could get this off my plate. I could pass this on to somebody else. And what that's going to do is free up your time to then focus on those bigger projects that are going to actually move you forward. Right? They're the thing that once you get that time back, you either A, can go sit by the pool and hang out with your kids and do whatever you want to do, or B, you're going to actually then now have time to do the things that are going to help you move you forward. One of the biggest mistakes that I see women making who are wanting to scale and want to grow, but feeling like there's a ceiling they can't get past, is that if you were to take a microscope and look inside their business, most of the tasks they're doing themselves. They're doing it all. Like, right? Like we're carrying all those hats of content writer, content creator. We're posting it, we're scheduling it, we're, recording the podcast, we're writing the blog posts, like literally doing everything inside of our business. And if we're doing all of those little micro tasks, then we can't really move it forward with that vision, right? Your role as the business owner is to be the visionary, to be the person that's directing the team where you're headed and where you're going. And if you're spending so much of your time doing all of the menial little tasks, you're not going to be able to keep your eyes set on that vision. Your time is not going to be able to even help you move there forward. So let's take a look at what are those things, which things can you create systems for? Processes, flows, like rhythms, whatever you can do. Even just this recently, I created a whole step-by-step process for creating a blog post for my podcast episodes. So Camille is now taking over and doing some of those blog posts for me. So I'm writing them, and then she's handling kind of scheduling them and posting them and getting all the graphics ready and all of those different parts of it. So that's where we looked at like what parts of this are me only and which parts can she do. And so what I did was I went through and created like a snapshot. I did like the snipping tool and did a snipping shot of every step in this, created a document so that now Camille, I just handed it over to her. She took it and I said, let me know if you have any questions on this. Otherwise, go for it. And she went for it. And so now I know like something happens to Camille's sick, she can't do it, somebody else has to step in. I can immediately send them that same work process and they could step in immediately. Do you see how easy that would be? Like, and longevity that's creating this like sustainability and the scalability that even if you have like turnover in your business, you're no longer having to go back and like retrain on those simpler things. You can literally just hand off a process and they're ready to go. They can jump in. Okay. This is going to be one of the things that does most of the heavy lifting for you. It's going to take things off your plate and give you so much time back. Okay. So like even thinking about like social media, right? Do you have a social media strategy and a system right now? Okay. This is one area like the last couple of months I've let slide because I've had a lot of things going on that I kind of lost the rhythm that I was in. So I used my cycle to map out when I schedule and when I create and when I post and all of those different things in terms of social media. And if you haven't listened, there's a couple episodes back. I did a whole episode on social media planning. But with that, I'm planning on creating like a little bit of a mini program for people to be able to really use your cycle and leverage your cycle in creating content specifically. But for me, I got off my rhythm. There was a couple of weeks where I couldn't do anything. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life and I just like couldn't do it. And so the last few weeks I've had zero content. It feels so out of my flow and feels so out of my rhythm. And so when you look at social media, are you flying by the seat of your pants every single day trying to post? Or do you have a system in place that makes it easy to create content, makes it easy to get it out, makes it easy to be on social media, and that it's not sucking your vortex, right? Like it's not a vortex sucking all of your time away. Social media should be an asset and a tool in your business. And I find that a lot of women are spending so much time on social media, researching, creating, planning, all the things that we really could get more streamlined with it. Create much better systems, much better processes so that social media becomes that asset and not something that's taking your time away from that bigger vision, the things that require you to scale and grow your business. Okay, so now number 3. Number 3 is one of my favorites, is tenacity and creativity. I'm kind of blending the two together because one, I think it's so easy in business when we hit failures to give up. When we hit something that doesn't feel comfortable, we give up. I'm not saying you do. I'm saying it is easy in business to give up, right? Majority of small businesses do not make it. And a majority of small businesses online do not make it because it has become a very crowded space, right? It's so accessible for people to be online and creating online businesses and creating money online that now there's so many people that want to do that. it's crowded. There's lots of people there, and it's maybe not as easy as it once was. But also in that, creating a business is not always easy, right? Like it's not something where we're going to see this, like we get out there and we just see miraculous money all the time. There's a lot of learning involved. There's a lot of trial and error involved. And so you have to be tenacious and willing to hit those failures, hit those obstacles, hit those roadblocks, and then be willing to learn from them. Be willing to see them as opportunities to grow, being willing to pivot, being willing to get creative, which is the second one, right? We have to be creative in our business to come up with ideas, to meet a need in the industry, to see, like when you look at your audience and you see the people that are there and think like, where's a problem they're experiencing? How can I meet that need? You have to be able to see that. You have to be able to create. You have to be able to, even just copywriting, you have to be so creative in your copywriting. Am I right? Like we have to be able to articulate and create something that's magnetic. But with that, like that creativity is going to allow you to pivot when you fail. It's going to allow you to see new opportunities and see new ideas, right? So for instance, like I know there's a group of women that I talk with and collaborate with very frequently. And when we get together, we would talk about like things that we weren't seeing go the way we wanted it to, right? Like things that aren't happening in our business that we tried and whatever. And the key difference that I've noticed in like women in groups like this is that it's no longer, it becomes this thing where it's not like, oh, that didn't work for you, bummer. It becomes this like, oh, well, that didn't work. I wonder if you could try XYZ. Or, oh my goodness, that's because you probably learned like, okay, this is something your audience doesn't want, or this is something that's not going to work. Like, let's try this. It becomes this like problem solution sort of environment. And that's what you have to have, that willingness to create when you see those problems. When those problems arise for you, being willing to pivot and adjust and change and shift. This might be flexibility, the willingness to like have the goal, have the idea, have the vision, and then being willing to step back and let it go. Being willing to let it take on a life of its own. Because sometimes that's what it requires. Like we have to release control. And I'm not 100% sure, but over the years, I'm pretty sure I'm an Enneagram 8. Like if you are an Enneagram expert, I would love like if you have feedback or information, because when I've taken the Enneagram test, it put me at like a 9, but then like 4 of the other numbers were only 1 point behind and they were all tied. And so I'm like, that doesn't feel it doesn't feel like it determined who I am or what I am. But over the years, I've like really kind of thought and listened. And every time I see an Enneagram thing, the 8 really stands out to me for one particular reason, is that like for me, that sense of control is a huge piece. I want to feel like I'm in control of me. I don't want to feel like anybody else is in control of me. I don't want to feel like anybody else tells me where or when I have to be or what I have to do. And even last night, I was kind of thinking about it. When I was in college, I was a part of this group. My teammate and we led a group of other college students. We went to Russia. We spent like 7 weeks in Russia, helping out in orphanages and learning about the Russian culture and all these types of things. And I was one of the co-leaders on that team. And then even the other day, I was like, gosh, I'm like leading my daughter's soccer practice and just thinking and having this like reflection and self-awareness on me as who I am. And that Enneagram 8 of being like, liking that sense of control, and not in the sense of like, I want to control everything, but I don't want anybody to control me. I don't want anybody else to tell me what to be and where to do and how to be. And if I'm the leader, if I'm the one in control, then I get to make those decisions for me, right? So anyway, for me, that sense of control and being able to like, this is how I want to do it and how I want to live it, I'm going to control that. And so to release that sense of control, trust me, I understand how hard that can be from that place of like Enneagram 8. Like control is a big thing. And so being willing to release and be flexible with that control, being willing to be creative and to persevere and be tenacious when things don't necessarily go the way you want them to, or they don't match up to that vision. I hear you. I hear you. This is a big growth area for both of us. We can do this together and learn to be really tenacious. And if that vision that you have is really where you want to go, then let's be tenacious and let's do it. Doesn't have to be like hard, that we're working hard, but we are going to encounter obstacles. We are going to encounter things that don't go the way we want them to. So then the question from me to you is, what are you doing when you hit those moments? When you hit those moments that don't go the way you want them to, what are you doing? How are you responding? Now, number 4, most of us are in this business in the sense of being in the people business, right? You're an online creator, you're a course creator, you're a coach, you're interacting with people in some way or fashion. Even if you, like I said, if you own like an Etsy shop, even in owning an Etsy shop, you are still interacting with people, right? Like customer service. And I'm guessing that you've had that experience where you've interacted with somebody, a business or whatever, and they have like really amazing, outstanding customer service. And then on the other hand, those people that have really poor, not so great customer service. Okay. Even just to go like the Aura ring, as I was like doing a bunch of my research, there was a lot of really negative reviews about their customer service. And at one point I had joined into one of their like partner programs to see like, okay, if this is something I really love, I want to be able to share that with you. And I would love to be able to partner with them to bring that to you. And so I registered and signed up and nothing. Like I got through like the first couple steps. I got like the first, and then I have not heard a thing from them ever since. And so to me, that just highlights one of these big things. It's not the number 4. Number 4 is integrity and honesty. If you really truly want to scale your business, you have to operate from that place of being in full integrity and honest in what you're doing. You want to be in that's like, you want to build the relationship. It is all about the people. So being true to who you are, being true to what you say you're going to do, and being willing to show up, but also being willing to admit when you've done something wrong, being willing to have that like standout customer service that people feel good about, that you feel good about, right? It is not just all about making money online. If you're like me and the women that I work with inside Your Cycle Advantage, it is about creating an impact. It is about creating change in the world. It's about influencing people in a really positive way and having these positive outcomes in the world. And so if you want to create that, it comes back to looking at those core things for you. Are you operating in this place of integrity? Are you giving the things that you say you're going to give? Are you creating really massively valuable content and life-changing transformations inside your program? Are you actually giving them what they say that you're going to give? Now, I know there's been plenty of opportunities and experiences where I've been and I felt like I got kind of shafted on the receiving side, right? Like as a customer, as somebody who I invest in a lot of programs, I invest a lot. And there's definitely a difference between those people that stand out and those people that I feel like kind of oversold, right? They claimed things. They said that they were going to give things. They claimed outcomes. They claimed all these things. And I didn't really feel like it matched up. In the long run, that's not going to support and serve your business. Right? You want those loyal, die-hard people that are like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You changed everything for me. That is how I operate. I even maybe to the point where sometimes I undervalue what I think I can give because I want to make sure that I'm not overselling. I want to make sure that if you join into one of my programs, that 100% you walk away feeling completely transformed. You feel like it was so worth it, so worth every penny, so worth your time, so worth your energy. That's what I desire to create because I know at the core of it, the people are what matters. The money doesn't necessarily matter to me. The people that I'm serving are the ones that matter. So when you look at your business, are you operating from that place of how can I put people first? How can I be in integrity with what I say and what I'm claiming and what I'm doing? And how can I operate from this place of like honesty, right? And then also going back to like when things are not there, because we are going to all mess up. We're going to have unhappy clients. We're going to have people that didn't feel like you gave it, even though you gave. Like 99% of people could say like you changed their life, and that 1% is still going to be there that said you didn't. So in all of this, like how can you come from a place of giving first? Because when we give first, then we're going to be open to receive. We're going to be able to receive more when we give first. Okay. Now, lastly, number 5, probably one of the most important. Actually, I don't even know if I could really rank all 5 of these because they all are so essential must-haves in order to scale. But number 5 is community and connection. Okay. If you've ever heard that phrase, your net worth equals, or your networking equals your net worth, That phrase comes from this idea of like, the more that you connect with other people and are in this community, that then your opportunities are going to grow. You're going to know more people, and people are going to be like, oh, yes, I'm going to reach out to Kelly because she does this, or I'm going to reach out to Renee because she does this. Like, your network grows and your opportunities will grow. But even beyond just your community of like networking, right? Going back even to think the last one of like about putting people first, like when you're networking, make sure you're networking from this place of like genuine connection, not what am I going to get from this? Because we can smell that from far, far away. Right? Chances are you've been in that place where somebody's reached out to you and they want to connect with you. You can tell it's from this place of like sleazy, what is in it for me kind of feel. And we can smell that. Like I can smell that so far away. So when you are making those connections, making it from a place of genuine connection, like how can I get to know you? How can we connect together and build this relationship? Not what can I get out of it from you? And how can you serve me? And how can you serve my business? Because that's not going to get you anywhere. But if we're coming from this place of genuine connection, also creating and putting yourselves in communities and opportunities and experiences that are with people that are above where you want to achieve, communities of people that are pushing you to see and expand beyond what's possible for what you already think right now. So for me, when I joined into my mentor, James Wedmore's, his next level, it was a scary big investment. And I felt so out of my league. Like the first time I got in there and saw like the level and the caliber of people that were in there, it was like, whoa, I am in a room far above my level here. But that's the thing. You don't want to be in a room where you are the expert. You want to be in a room where you feel like the dumbest person in the room, because that's how you're going to learn and how you're going to grow. The other part of community and in this like piece is that when you're in isolation, it's harder to keep that momentum. It's harder to keep that motivation. It's harder to keep going. But when you have other people around you that are continuing to move forward, it has this element of like keeping you inspired and accountable at the same time. Community is one of those biggest players for that. So next level with my coach, James Wedmore, is an annual thing. So you renew into next level every single year. And I think it was last year, I was like, gosh, I don't know if I want to renew. I'm not sure if I'm going to stay in there, but I didn't really have anybody else. Like there was no other coaches that I really wanted to like learn from. And I knew how valuable community was. If I dropped out of next level and didn't get myself into some other type of community, that my momentum would probably slowly fade. And I would then feel like I'm doing it all on my own and I feel in isolation. And I'm telling you, as an online business owner, isolation is really incredibly real and it's hard. One of the most impactful things I've ever done for my business is one, being in groups of community like that are pushing me, but then two, getting in the actual physical room. And I know COVID has made that really hard, but now that it's opened back up and we're actually meeting in the room, I guarantee you we're going to see businesses start exploding because they're going to start getting in the room, they're going to start connecting with other people, and they're going to start to see things explode. That is what's going to happen. The power of being in the room, which side note, if you have not heard about the Amplify retreat, that is in April, same thing, like live event in the room. I guarantee you will see your business explode and amplify by being in the room there. So doors are not open to that. It's actually open only to your Cycle Advantage members right now. But if you want to get information about that, when it does open up to the public, if there's spots left, let me know. Just send me a DM on Instagram. I'd be happy to send that over to you. But that is the real reason I created that retreat, is because there's something magical and important and valuable in having that online space and that online community to help hold you accountable to your goals and help you moving forward. People that think in the same vein of you, that have the same sort of desires as you and are wanting to help support each other in the same level of way and create that impact. Hugely powerful. And then getting in the room with those people is even compounded on top of that, has this life-changing ripple. Okay. So right now we're going to run through those 5 again. Okay. And just have that quick little self-awareness checkpoint. Vision. How strong is your vision? How real is that vision? Can you put that vision into like full detail on paper? Can you think and like visualize it so strongly that this is where I want to go and I feel in so alignment with it? It feels good and right and authentic to me. Number 2, the systems. Am I automating and delegating those things that are taking up my time, that are taking you away from your zone of genius? Are they things that you have to be doing, or can you create rhythms and systems that are going to just automate it for you? Number 3, the tenacity, the creativity. Do you have the tenacity and the creativity to pivot when it doesn't go the way you want it to? When it doesn't always happen in your control? When it goes outside of your control, are you letting go and being flexible with it? Number 4, are you putting people first? Are you operating from this place of integrity and honesty and giving first rather than trying to receive and focusing on the money or the outcomes versus really truly looking at how can you show up and serve the people that you're surrounded with? And then number 5, are you in a community of people that are pushing you to learn and grow beyond where you're at right now? Are you in a community of people that are helping to hold you accountable, support you in making that impact that you really want to see? Now, if with any of these, you felt like maybe there's room to grow, which hint, hint, we probably all have room to grow in all of these different areas at some point in time. And you might notice some seasons may wax and some might wane, right? Like that's the way it goes. Like season to season, things might shift and change. But I want you to identify one that you're going to then focus on and move forward with. Which one of these areas are you going to lean into seeing growth and creating that self-awareness and helping yourself expand a little bit? Now, if you just listen to this whole episode, chances are you are actually wanting to grow and scale your business, right? Whether that is a business that's just getting up off the ground, whether that's a business that's already running pretty well and smooth, you just need to streamline some things so that you can actually scale it. And, or if you're in that place of actually already seeing some success and feeling really good, but you're maybe feeling a little bit exhausted from all of the stuff, either one of those, you're going to want to jump into our Cycle to Scale training that's starting next week. You might be wondering what the heck. I've really honed in and adapted how I'm using my cycle and how I'm using my body and my rhythms. And like I said, learning about my sleep and all of those different pieces, my menstrual cycle, and how it's really using my body as the core compass of running my business, and how that's allowed me to create systems that work for my body, for my business, instead of me being in my business, working on my business all the time, right? Getting into that place of working fewer hours and still seeing more results. And that's what I want to show you inside the Cycle to Scale training. So all you have to do is go over to cycletoscale.com, get registered. You will get all the ins and outs on how that's going to go, what it's going to look like. We've got some amazing giveaways inside there. You're going to not want to miss out on them. Make sure to go over, get registered, invite your friend, right? Regardless if she's in business or not, these are things that other women need to know. These are things that the basics and the foundations of listening to your body and trusting your body and listening to your cycle, every woman should know. Like that is one of the number one things I hear from women when they walk away from the Cycle to Scale training. It's like, why did we not know this? How is it I'm 30, 40 years old and just now learning about this? I wish I knew this when I was younger. And so this is so powerful and so invaluable. I want to make sure you don't miss it. And I want to make sure that your best friend, your sister, whoever does not miss it as well. So send them over to cycletoscale.com and I will see you all next week.